your credit score doesn't matter at all.
Wow, I've never heard it. No, never heard it like that before. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing. That's crazy.
Right? So the whole game is just a game of what I call interest rate arbitrage, right? So if I have money invested in an investment account, let's just say that's doing 12% conservatively, because ours do substantially better than that. Let's just say it's 12%, right? And I borrow 50%, borrow against. The key distinction is against, meaning your account value is going to stay the same. You're not taking the money from the account. You're getting a separate line of credit based upon the value of the account. That's a key distinction, okay? So you get the line of credit, and then let's say they charge you 5% interest on that line of credit. Well, even just between that, there's already a spread between what you're earning on the portfolio and what it's costing you to borrow the money. But where it really makes sense is you're going to take that borrowed money to then go buy another investment. It's also going to have its own separate ROI or its own separate cash flow, right? So now it's just a game of interest rate arbitrage. And on top of that, your total net ROI is going to be higher. Why? Because when you're borrowing the money, you're not paying taxes, right? So a lot of times when people talk about day trading, right, they're like, oh, day trading, I'm doing cool. And I know how I can trade with the best of them. But when you trade, right, you're paying short-term capital gains tax. So if we're just looking at dollars in versus dollars out, right, I don't care if you got a 50% win if you're going to be paying 37% in taxes, right? So it's understanding the whole picture and how do I maximize the ROI and how do I avoid paying Uncle Sam while building more wealth at the same time.
Strong. Wow, man, you giving away some golden nuggets. I know people pay you a lot of money to get that information.
One of my mentors told me, two things he told me. He said, the only thing people can take from me is notes. First thing he said. He said, the second thing he said is when you operate from a place of abundance, right? It's like, and you are who you say you are, you should be able to give away as much information as freely as possible.
Strong. Man, did y'all get that audience? Speaking, we have people watching live actually. So I don't know if I'm gonna get to y'all, but you can put your questions. They'll come to me on my screen here. If you have questions, but let's move along here. Great, man, great information. I forgot to thank you when we started. Thanks for being here,
sure,
man.
Absolutely.
So appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here, brother.
So
let me just commend you, right? Because just for those who don't know, so we ran into each other right at daycare, dropping our kids off, and I do a lot of speaking engagements every year. Just by travel, just by commitment, I end up turning down most of them for only just because of availability. But if you wouldn't have, reached out, made the connection, and he was persistent too, because I was in the middle of like a really busy travel.
Almost gave up. This dude, he too big.
It wasn't even that. I just was traveling a lot. So thank you for being persistent and us making this connection for sure.
You got it, man. Yeah, we're blessing a lot of people today.
Yeah.
All right, so great information. Now let's switch gears to some other folks. There are people watching and who will watch this later, and they really want to be wealthy. Like, they really want to be wealthy.
Yeah.
They have no context. They don't know who to talk to. The first thing they'll see, anything close to acquiring wealth, is what you're sharing right now. For the person who's just starting, all right, maybe I just have a job. I'm making $70,000 a year. Or maybe I have a job making $80,000 a year, but my business bringing another 40. I'm making 120. Where do I start? Like, what is the basic things I could do just to get started before I get into all this stuff you just said that kind of went over some people's head? Yeah.
I think this is a twofold answer, right? But I think the first part, and it may be unconventional to say, but I think the first part is, and I said it earlier, right? Wealth is made through concentration, it's preserved through diversification. So a lot of times people ask me, like, if I only have $100 to invest, where should I invest? I say, you should invest, like, figure out how can I get to a place where I can have more than $100 to invest. And I don't say that to be like rude or cliche, but it's like people grossly underestimate. Like, I'll put it like this. Mark Zuckerberg was paying 9-figure, let's put it in context, 9-figure signing bonuses to people who were really great in the AI space. Why? Because AI is what's most important right now, right? So I say that to say, you got to ask yourself, like, what are in-demand skills and how can I acquire them, right? Right. The most underutilized or forgotten asset class is intellectual property, right? Like, how can I acquire enough intellectual property to become a person of value, right? So that the marketplace can do nothing but pay me what I'm worth, and that's going to give me all the resources that I need to invest, right? So it's like, forget the ROI, like forget trying to chase 100% returns. if you just have enough money to invest, you can invest, which is why wealth is preserved through diversification. It's like you take the risk on betting on you. You don't got to take the risk on trying to get a hot stock to go to 3,000%. That's where people go wrong. Take the risk on yourself. That's the most controllable asset you have. But the problem is, you are the only person who has heard 100% of the lies that you told yourself, right? And so when you wake up and you say, I'm going to work out, I'm going to work on my business this day, or whatever it is, most people will never hear or know that you didn't do what you said you were going to do,
Ooh-wee.
right? And because of that, right, you can get away with it. But the only person you're robbing is yourself. And so I truly do believe that the greatest investment that you can make, and not to be cliche, is yourself, and understand what are these in-demand skills that I can acquire that the marketplace can do nothing but pay me for, right? I have more leads than I have time. We get 13,000 new leads every 60 days, right? And we only work with less than 1,000 people, new people a year, way less than a year, right? Because I acquired in-demand skills and I've been doing it for 13 years. I have done nothing else for 13 years, right? And so I said to say like that's the cheat code. It's like pick a path, right? And become one of the best. You have to be the best, but become one of the best people in that path. But most people they quit, or they don't want to do it, or even worse, they're comparing themselves to other people in their industry who maybe it's their chapter 10 or their chapter 20, and they get discouraged. And one of the things one of my pastors told me, he said, potential, what did he say? He said, comparing yourself to people who you perceive are better than you will paralyze your potential, or excuse me, neutralize your passion. Comparing yourself to people who you believe you're better than will paralyze your potential, right? So when you look at somebody who is supposedly farther ahead than you, right, it is neutralizing your passion because, like, man, dang, I'm never gonna get there, right? They've done it. And you start to slow down, right? Man, you compare yourself to somebody who you feel like you're better than them, or you're further along than them. You start to slow down. It's like, it's almost like watching a sports game and they take their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter because they're up by 20, and at the end they're scrambling to try to win the game, right? Versus just keeping their foot on the gas, right? So comparison is something that a lot of people do. They rob them of the opportunity to own their lane. So I don't care what anybody, we talked about some other industry peers, and I don't care, respectfully, I don't care what they're doing, not because I don't respect them, but because I have a lane that I got to carve out and what God has called me to do. And that's all I'm focused on. That's it, right? And those are the people that I need to be focused on, not how do I stack up or compare to my peers.
Strong. That's good, man. All right. Man, you saying some stuff that's hitting me, man. Like you punching me in the chest right now. So it's a very, very important concern for many people. Even like I've had this question for many years.
Yeah.
I will hear Kiyosaki say your home is just a liability. It's not an asset, which makes sense, right? It's taking money out my account, not putting money in my account.
Yeah.
I'll hear say Grant Cardone say that's the dumbest investment you can make the home you live in. Then I hear John Hope Bryant, who's for our people.
Yeah.
Melanin Money, right? Say it is your number one asset. Can you tell us what is your thoughts on that in terms of home ownership? I know so many people, man, we're saving up to buy a home. What's your whole thoughts on that?
Yeah.
All of it, and like dive deep with it. Like who does it make sense for? Who doesn't it make sense for?
Yeah, for sure. There's a difference between playing to win and playing not to lose, right? So if people don't believe that you will be able to acquire the skills or the acumen to make the best objective investment choices, then they'll create paths where you'll be forced to do it, right? So if you buy a home, right, and you live there for an extended period of time and it's in a halfway decent area, it's going to appreciate in value, right? Now, if we did the math objectively on what you put into the home and all the things, right, is it a good investment? Is it the best investment? It's not, right? And I love John Hope Bryant. It's not the best investment. But if you're coming from a place where this is the most likely investment that you can make relative to your circumstances, then that's also cool. My objective advice is just to be objective. It's like, all right, when I look at the capital outlay, because right now, like I love the house that I'm in. We told you a story about it, right? I love the house that I'm in.
I love it too, from afar.
Right? I love the house that I'm in, but I do, by and large, view it as a financial liability, right? But there are qualitative and quantitative goals in life, right? Quantitative is just math. Does it make sense on paper? Qualitative, right, is how does it make you feel, right? And sometimes we have to balance those two things as long as it's not removing the ability of the long-term goal that you make. Like if buying that liability or buying that thing isn't going to derail you from your long-term trajectory, great. But if it is, or this is the only money you have to make the best investment, it's probably not the best investment, right? But for me, all the stuff updates I'm making to my house right now, that doesn't make sense on paper, right? It's not the best use of my money, but qualitatively to see my son, being able to enjoy the pool and all the things, like it's a qualitative investment that I can afford to make at this point, but I can still be objective and say it doesn't make the most sense on paper. So I think relative to the resources that you have will determine how, like where your money should be put, right? Like you can't afford to make those types of decisions if that's your only investment.
Very good. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to go, I'm not going to be selfish. I was selfish earlier. I'm not going to be selfish and take up all the question time. Yeah. I'm going to go to the chat. So we had a question online. When borrowing against your investment account, does your credit score come into play for the interest rate you're charged on the loan when you borrow against yourself?
That is a phenomenal question. And I love that question because this strategy is how you become your own bank. The credit scores matters because the bank has the authority on what they want to lend you. But when your assets are the assets collateralizing the borrowed money, it doesn't matter because it's collateralized by your assets, right? So your credit score does not matter. The moment I deposit the money into my investment account, instantly I can go to the borrow tab and borrow 50% of it immediately. Wow. Instantly. There's no paperwork. And within 48 hours, right, it will be deposited and transferred to my bank account, right? So it's a very powerful strategy because you literally get to become your own bank by collateralizing your own investments. And now I don't have enough time to go super deep on this, but one thing, again, I'll say this. The entire economy is based upon the middleman. Right. And what I mean by that, and y'all probably heard something similar to this before, but like we hear like how Airbnb, doesn't own any houses, or Uber doesn't own any vehicles, right? Or Amazon, outside of when they look at the data and say, oh, we need to start creating that product. But for many years, Amazon didn't own any products, right? They're just a facilitator of these transactions. Bank is the same way. The bank is just a glorified middleman, right? But they're the most powerful institution that exists. They're just a middleman. How does the bank work? I want to go buy. The first and foremost, I deposit my money in the bank, right? They've convinced me that makes sense. Boom. I want to go buy a house, right? I can't buy the house in cash, so I get a mortgage from the bank. Bank's going to charge me 6%, 7%, whatever the going rate for mortgages is these days, right? Cool. Then I'm going to take that money, I'm going to give it to the builder. The builder is going to take the money I just gave him and put it right back in the same bank. Think about it, right? The builder's not just sitting on the cash. He built the house. So the economy is based upon the buyer, the builder, and the broker. Somebody knows how to make the thing. Somebody wants to buy the thing. And there's some type of system or infrastructure in between the two that connects both people. So the question is, how can I become that infrastructure? How can I remove the middleman? Well, we've heard that quote before. Yeah. How do you remove the middleman, right? Wow. And so when you invest your money in a way that allows you to leverage it, you get an opportunity to remove the middleman. Yes, you are being charged interest from the investment institution. However, you've hopefully done the math to, number one, see, okay, my investments are earning 12%. I'm paying 6% of the money I borrow. I went to go buy this cash flow producing real estate property that's then going to pay me 3 times what I owe in loan interest. And you would do the math to determine, okay, I'm just playing the interest rate arbitrage game. That's what the banks are doing, right? They give you the 1% or whatever it is on your savings account. They loan out your money at 6%. They can happily give you the percentage back, right? So learn to play the interest rate arbitrage game by becoming your own bank. So I say all that to say your credit score doesn't matter at all.
Wow, I've never heard it. No, never heard it like that before. I've never heard that before. Yeah. That's mind blowing. That's crazy.